The following is a presentation of the Six Arrows Radio Network.
Ham Radio 360 podcast. We're getting really close to Hamvention. George and Jeremy, come along. We're going to talk about our plans and yours coming up.
MTCRadio.com presents Ham Radio 360, the podcast. Brought to you by Elecraft. Now, here's your host, Kel Nelson, K4CDN.
It's Hamvention week here on Ham Radio 360 podcast. What does that mean? Oh, it's only the world's largest amateur radio convention now in Xenia, Ohio, happening this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you're driving up, please be careful, number one. Number two, if you're going to be driving up and coming to the event, please go check out the show notes, check out the Twitter feed or something to find the links from the ARRL and Hamvention regarding the parking situation. Jeremy was up there on Mother's Day, kind of gave it a peek. Everything looks good, except there are a few roads, literally, to get into the event. They're expecting 30 to 40,000 people. That means a lot of cars, right? This is America. That is the breadbasket, and there's a lot of cars in Ohio. Actually, I'll be bringing one from South Carolina. So why am I telling you all that? You can park in these really cool shuttle bus parking lots. They'll drive you in. The trip's 10 to 15 minutes. That's probably nothing compared to sitting in your car waiting for traffic to inch another 2 or 3 feet forward as you're trying to get into the parking lot. Listen, take your porcupine, put it over in the parking lots with the shuttle buses and utilize those. I can't remember how many there are, but there's maps online. I'll link them in the show notes. If you're coming, you don't have to drive your car. Ride the shuttle bus. This isn't some kind of, get you out of your car kind of a thing. This is to help you have a great time. There's going to be tons of people there. Traffic's probably going to be tough, and they're offering you this service to prevent you from getting frustrated on your way in so that you can just ride the cute little bus and get off and be happy and have a great time at Hamvention. That's all I'm going to say about it, but the show notes will reflect the maps and whatnot I mentioned. I wanted to put it at the beginning of the program here because it's very, very important, okay? Who knows what the weather's going to do? The rain, if it shows up, will affect parking, so the shuttle bus probably, I would say 90 to 100% is going to be your best bet. That's Kel's opinion. You can take it for what it's worth. I'm just trying to be straight with you guys to enhance your trip at Hamvention. It's going to be a great time, and we're excited to see you. We're going to be there. Our buddies from MTC are going to be there. It's just going to be a blast, and we want you to be there, be safe, and have fun. So check out the show notes, find the maps, find the shuttle bus services, and have a good time. Hey, speaking of Main Trading Company, of course they're going to be there. 28 feet of ham radio love down in the flea market space. Yeah, they just decided to quit toting it in. They're going to bring it on the trailer. Richard posted he's got over 2,000 radios with him. And if you're curious about what Richard's doing right now, you can follow him on aprs.fi. His call sign is KI5DX, Kilo India 5 Delta X-Ray. And you can see where him and Tammy are. They're bringing the truck. They've got a truck full. They've got a trailer full. And they're heading right now to the Xenia, Ohio Fairgrounds. It's going to be great. I love hanging out with Richard and Christine. Tammy, Danielle gets to hang out with Chris this year. Rhett's coming. It's going to be a blast. You guys have got to check them out. Over 2,000 radios in the trailer, and they're going to be banging out some deals, especially. Now, I just got word the other day that ICOM has this really great contest going on about sending a ham radio to Japan to kind of check out what's going over there in the ham world. If you sign up for that contest, there may be a possibility to receive a very valuable coupon for a really smoking hot radio, the IC7300. Now, you can buy those all day long from mtcradio.com at the best price on the internet. Hamvention changes everything. If you're going to be there, go sign up for the contest from ICOM. Print your coupon, bring it with you. It'll be, you don't know, it could save you some bucks. So check them out. MTCRadio.com has the best deals on ICOM radios on the planet. They're our buddies. I can guarantee you'll get great service. It's MTCRadio.com. Oh, goodness. We're having a good time here on Ham Radio 360. Welcome back in. It's been quite a while, but we're excited to have them back with us. Who is them? It's none other than George and Jeremy from the Workbench Podcast, my buddies and yours. Guys, it's been far too long. Thank you for coming back on and hanging out with us here before Hamvention.
Hey, Kale, great to be back. We just wrapped up the Workbench episode took a little bit of a break, and it's good to be catching up with you here. And I am really looking forward to seeing you guys in Ohio.
I am really looking forward to seeing you guys in Ohio. And also, it is great to be back with the rest of our listeners, all of our listeners. It has been a while, but this really has become kind of an annual tradition now.
Yeah.
It's the second annual event.
It is. Although it's been happening for, 50, 60 years, whatever, 40 years. How many years is this year for Hamvention? I can't remember.
I think it started,
last year, like a big deal year or something? You think we'd have notes on this, guys? We'll figure it out in a few minutes. I have no idea. I thought I knew. I can't remember. Anyway, Hamvention, that's what we're going to – is that what we're going to call it, or are we going to still call it Dayton? Because I know that you guys had some trouble in the last show, Xenia, Dayton, Hamvention. We're just going to call it the new pilgrimage, or we're just still going to call it Dayton?
I mean, Hamvention is safe, but somebody on Twitter pointed out nobody ever called it the Trotwood Hamvention, which is technically where Hera was.
Ah, okay. And
if you ever ate the food at the Hera Arena, I could see where that would be an appropriate name.
They're quick tonight, guys. They're quick. Hey,
by the way, Hamvention started in 1952.
52. Okay.
I think, yeah.
That was before my time. George, so you were finishing high school about then?
Oh, no, I was.
He didn't get it. I got it. Man, we're going to have so much fun. Guys, this is what we do when we get together. And if you're coming to Hamvention, because I know a lot of you are going to be listening to this program, traveling. I know that because last year, a great many of you told us that you enjoyed the program on the way in. Some of you even introduced your ham friends who had never heard the show before to us last year as you guys were driving up to the Dayton Hamvention, the Xenia Hamvention this year. And we got 2 booths in the big tent. And I've been telling people that's where the party's going to be, is in the big tent. And I'm really excited about that. George, can you tell us a little bit about how we wound up with these booths and how we got the 2 spaces and who's going to be helping us to present ourselves to our community at Hamvention this year?
Oh, yeah. Well, we put in for booth space really early on, and we wanted to get into one of the main halls. And there was such a rush for booth space this year that they were completely overwhelmed. And I can't imagine volunteering to coordinate all the booth spaces. But anyway, we eventually got put into the big tent, which is, I guess, quote, building 6, unquote. And we were trying to figure out how much space to have. Last year, we had 1 booth space, and the booths are about 10 feet wide and about 8 feet deep. And this year, we decided to double and get more space. That way, we have enough room for us to put out our various build project boards and have room to chat and talk. And last year, the booth was just like a big hangout. It was really great. So that worked out well. So we'll have 2 booth spaces. Right when you walk into Building 6, we're at the end towards the door, so you won't be able to miss us with our big banners. And also big thanks to our sponsors to help pay the freight. Because last year, if you recall, we had to take donations from our wonderful listeners to pay for some of the travel expenses. And so this year, we had sponsors who were able to pay for some of our booth space and some of our other expenses. So that was awesome. So big thanks to them. And it should be a great time.
Jeremy, last year, it was the first time the 3 of us actually got together in the same place physically. It was a great time. It was kind of one of those surreal moments that you can't really kind of prepare yourself for, but you know it's going to be cool when it happens. That was the way I felt the entire weekend, as we were just inundated with, like George said, the booth was a hangout place, and it was so much fun to get to hang out with you guys as well as the listeners. And one of the things that struck me as I've been thinking back over the last couple of days, getting kind of in the mindset of Hamvention, because if you've never been there, guys, it is a mindset, literally. One of the things that struck me was I remember seeing not just the same people all the time, but we had people coming back time after time after time and just hanging out and getting to know us better and us getting to know them better. And that was, to me, that was one of the coolest things about it. The thousands of people that we met, I felt like we really connected on some deeper levels with some members of our listening audience. And And that was a very powerful time for me. What do you think about stuff like that?
Well, it's very gratifying when you work on a project like the podcast and you put a lot of time and effort into it and you put it out there. And the real payoff is when someone sends you an email and says, hey, I really enjoyed the show, or I learned something, or you motivated me to do something new. And that's really our payback. But it's kind of double so when you're there and the person can come up to you and you kind of really get to know them beyond what you could just read in an email. And, you kick around some of the things we might have talked about on the podcast, or some of the stuff they're working on, like on their workbench. I'm really excited this year, now that we've had a whole year of workbench episodes, to talk to people about that whole experience. So it's really quite touching, frankly, to get a chance to meet people in person and find out, what did you do to kind of motivate them along? And likewise, our listeners are quite a motivation for us. Without them, there would be no point in doing this. So it's really quite a community experience. So I enjoy that immensely.
Jeremy, last year we sat down right there near the end of Hamvention in a hotel room, and we had virtually no sleep for at least a day or so, and we were all just pretty much almost to the point of just crazy. And sober, dead sober, just nearly crazy, because we were just completely out of energy. And you and George kind of pitched the idea of possibly a deep tech show, something that would maybe be like a special run of programs where we talked about antennas or maybe building projects and things like that. Did you ever have any idea that 12 months later, over 500,000 downloads later, we would be having this conversation going into this event again this year for the second time together, with the type of growth that we've experienced?
I mean, I knew we'd be together. I figured that Ham Radio 360 would go on, but I remember when we talked originally about the concept that eventually became the Workbench, we were only talking a handful, 5, 6, 10 episodes. Something to maybe fill in the time over the summer. We had talked about possibly doing a seasonal secondary show that might change topics a couple times a year. It's funny you bring this up, because it hit me today on my way home from work that the Workbench is almost a year old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the episode that just came out was number 23, which that it's 3 more episodes and we'll be a year old. That's mind blowing. And I was always, behind the scenes, I was the one who was always worried about, we're going to run out of things to talk about. And, which Cale, that's a familiar theme from the earliest days of Ham Radio 360.
Yeah.
But here we are. And this time we're coming to Dayton again. We have increased our footprint there. We have an audience that is about 4 times larger than it was this time last year. We have made some really good, long-lasting friendships with some of our listeners because of the podcast. And, what we're bringing to offer back to our listeners this year at the booth is a lot more than just little blue handouts, which if you got one of the blue flyers for Ham Radio 360 last year, I hope you kept it. Bring it back and we'll autograph it. That's going to be a valuable souvenir one day.
You can sell it on eBay.
Yeah.
Hey, I do want to go back to something you mentioned, Jeremy, when you said we thought about doing a short run of episodes, and we're scratching our head, how, can we actually fill up 10 episodes? I'd like to point out that not only have we filled up 23 episodes, but the original idea was an hour. And I don't think we've made an episode less than 2 hours. And there's been, plenty of content, and there's so many other topics and guests and things that we can imagine doing that at this point, I don't think we're going to run out of anything anytime soon.
And that's the glory of this hobby. And it's really hard if you're new and you're just thinking, I want to learn how to talk on a radio if the power goes out, or, the North Koreans do an EMP or something, and all hell's going to break loose. Your radios are probably still going to work, by the way, as long as you don't have them plugged in. That's my opinion. It's not science. But anyway, maybe you're brand new. You're coming into the hobby. Maybe you've been around a while. and you're still learning things. You're still finding new things to interest you in the hobby. And that's one of the glorious things about the opportunity, this platform of podcasting and YouTube video creation, content creating for this amateur radio hobby. There's so much out there to talk about. I mean, I really want to go out and talk about these two new bands that the FCC has allotted us use in. I think that's really interesting. And I know there's some guys here semi-local to me that do ultra low frequency stuff. So I want to get connected with them, and that's got nothing to do with what I'm interested in. But there's just so much out there in the hobby that I really don't know that we can find the end of the internet regarding things to talk about here, and not just to talk about, but present them in a way that people enjoy them, that we can communicate and be who we are, and present them the way that we do, and have the great content feedback. You know, the customer feedback, the customer service we provide, the customer feedback we get, because really I'm telling you, we've got the best audience on the planet, and it still astounds me how much they pay back into us with communicating and staying up where we are and kind of pushing us down the road sometimes even. And I just, again, got to say thank you for all you guys and gals listening. It's been a heck of a ride, and I'm still having a great time. And everyone just went away.
Oh, we're here.
Yeah, they're there. They're like, okay, so let's take a break. So why don't we do that? Why don't we take a break, and we'll come back with George and Jeremy here in just a couple of minutes, actually less than a couple of minutes, a few seconds. You're listening to the Ham Radio 360 Special Edition show as we get ready for Hamvention at Xenia, Ohio, hoping that you're on your way. So, yes, this week is Hamvention Week, which means Elecraft is traveling from California to Ohio, and they're going to have their brand new legal limit amplifier. They're also going to have the KX2, KX3, K3S, and other rockin' gear. Now, you can find it online at elecraft.com, but if you are up at Hamvention, you need to stop in. Say hey. Tell them, hey, thanks for supporting my favorite podcast, Ham Radio 360. Appreciate the support they've shown us. We're really looking forward to moving forward with them. And if you're looking for adventure radio gear, maybe a flagship rig for your shack, don't forget, check them out first. It's elecraft.com, hands-on ham radio. All right, back on segment 2, Hamvention Special Edition podcast here. My name's Kale, K4CDN, and I am not the podfather by any stretch of the imagination, but I am the godfather of all things Ham Radio 360, and just love these guys that we've got with us here. And, you know, this show wouldn't be where it's at without the intervention, literal intervention of these two men, and that's George and Jeremy. That's KF7IJZ. It's Jeremy and KJ6VU. You may recognize those names and or call signs from the back of the milk carton. I'm just kidding. From the Workbench podcast, those guys doing the opposing weeks. And that, you know, that kind of sounds weird when you say the opposing weeks. It's kind of like, ugh. But no, it's just an opportunity for us to be with you every single week, because when we first started this, that's what we heard the most. Just, we need more material. We want more. We want more. So last year at Hamvention, we sat there in the hotel room, nearly delirious from just lack of sleep, food, and water, and pounded out this idea. And a few weeks later, or a month or so later, we argued about the name for a little bit. We finally settled on the name, and it started producing the program, and here we are. And it's just ridiculous.
Well, Kale, I got to tell you that it takes a lot of things for this to come about, and for it to actually be here for a year and more. I mean, all really does start with you motivated us to want to do this. I mean, you didn't come and arm twist us or anything, but
y'all are both bigger than
a platform. Me. Say what?
I said you're both bigger than me.
Yeah, but, you know, we respected you as the podfather of the Ham Radio 360 podcast, and we were motivated to do this, and you were very gracious in fostering this idea, and very welcome and opening, and just really wanted to support doing something like what we've been doing with the Workbench. So I want to thank you for that. I mean, a lot of people who do this sort of thing, you know, their ego is as big as the building, and for you to encourage us to participate and to actually do our own show was really cool, and that was really nice of you, and I learned a ton. I've learned so much. Actually, from both of you guys over the last year. I learned a whole lot about how this whole podcast thing works and how you put the show together and just everything that goes with it. So there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. For every hour of airtime, you can imagine there's multiple hours of preparation, although sometimes it's hard to tell.
So you think our episodes are long.
Yeah.
Wait till you see what's left on the cutting room floor, man. But seriously, you're quite an inspiration, and you do it in such a welcoming and disarming fashion. And I just want to really thank you for making this possible.
Well, thanks, man. I didn't anticipate that, but thank you. Yeah, well, here's the thing. It's you guys may remember, of course, the listeners won't remember because they weren't privy to the conversation, but I said it numerous times and still stand by my statement. I want you to own it. And I want it to be yours. It doesn't need to be the redneck guy in the barn talking about transistors because he's not that guy. You guys be who you are. And I think that's what you've become. And that's why the show is so successful and why we just keep having people come back on top of people to listen to it every other week. So I'm just tickled that it's done as well as it has and look forward to growing it out further. And quite frankly, I think there's other topics that the Workbench and 360 are not covering that lies potential for future shows that Kel can't produce himself. But, there's a lot out there, a lot of good, smart people that have something to say and are passionate as well. And you guys,
well, that's for sure.
You guys really prove that, being passionate and very smart on your topics. And I would like to see further growth under the umbrella.
Well, we've had no problem finding some good guests to come on the show and really experts in their areas. I mean, ham radio is a really deep pool of resources. I think it was maybe Kenneth Finnegan made a comment along those lines, Jeremy, if you recall from our episode with Mark and Kenneth. He talked about ham radio as a hobby comparing to other hobbies, and that the depth of knowledge was really remarkable. So I think when you have that, a passion for those sort of things and a welcoming spirit, then really wonderful things can happen. So I think this whole podcast endeavor is really a product of that environment. So, I think that's really cool. So I'm curious about, while we're on the topic of the podcast, Cale, what do you see happen in the podcast over the next year? What would you like to accomplish?
Well, I want to continue rocking the every other week show for 360. That works really good for my schedule, and it takes the pressure off. There's still a little bit of pressure getting Workbench, and making sure everybody's happy across the board and getting the product out in time. But it really, I can't see myself doing a weekly show, I guess is what I'm trying to convey. I would like to see the program just continue to be a conversational type show about a topic inside the hobby. And whether it's, VHF, APRS, or if it's ultra-low frequency submarine monitoring or moon bounce, or just pick the random topic. And if you're listening and you have a topic you'd like to hear addressed, please let me know. The large majority of all of our show content comes from the outside, from you, the listener. So don't think that they're not going to listen to me. We will. And some of the best shows actually that we've done have been at the bequest of our listeners. So I'd like to see that continue to grow. See the Workbench continue, you guys doing your thing. Y'all are like so deep now in things. I feel like I need a Navajo wind talker to help me understand what you're talking about during most of your programs. So keep doing your thing.
I think he's coming on in the 2 episodes from now.
But I think there's a lot of topics out there. I've got a show in my mind, and I'm not going to, this is Kel, not going to spill the beans, but I have got an idea for a show, and I've even pitched it to someone. And if he's listening, I'm calling you back out, man, because I think it would be a great addition to the umbrella here. And it wouldn't necessarily have to be a bi-weekly show. Could probably get away with maybe once a month, but I think it would just be a really neat radio program. So I've got an idea. I'll tell you guys about it when we get to Hamvention. I just can't say it here because those pesky Russians are probably trying to hack the show as it is. So where do I want to see it go? I would like to see it continue to grow. I've got a really, really cool URL now, and it's .tv. So if I had some video creators that we're doing some really cool video work. I would like to launch that under the .tv. I think that'd be fun. I'm not an audio guy. I mean, I'm a video guy. I used to be a video guy when I was in high school. That's actually how I graduated high school. I made videos and made my teachers happy because I was too ignorant to do the schoolwork. So I'd like to see some video stuff happen as well. But, we just need to connect with the right people. And, I don't get in a hurry on anything like that. Stuff like that happens. Just like Jeremy coming on episode 2. And then, George, you were on before episode 10. And it just worked. It clicked. And those are the kind of connections I'm looking to continue to make to continue to grow out the 360 thing.
So if somebody had an idea for a show, should they give you shoot you an email and kick around some ideas?
I'm open. I mean, I would really like to hear from people. I think that, as a podcaster, Jeremy being a musician, he can quantify this as well. But, there's something about the connection, even without audio, right? Without video, when you are in someone's ear, there's a really weird connection there. And this podcasting medium, not only does it continue to grow and get just more beautiful as the days go on, but it's getting a lot stronger, and it's really taking hold on society. And I think that this is an excellent platform to help grow out this, what some people from the outside look in and see as a dying hobby. You guys know full well that this thing isn't dying because there's so much to talk about. So, I would, if somebody has an idea, I'm all up for a pitch. Let me know. Kel at hamradio360.com. So, Jeremy, do you agree that, bringing stuff in and bringing other shows in is a good way to continue to help bring recognition to the general populace for this hobby?
Oh yeah, especially if you focus on, like you said, the diversity of all the stuff that's in this hobby. Yeah. I mean, it's the hobby of hobbies, which I think you're the person I know who coined that phrase, right? It is the hobby of hobbies. It's the perfect hobby for people who like to have hobbies.
Yeah. And we can't help you with your checkbook now. I mean, your wife might get mad at us, but we're going to have some fun in ham radio. So
well, that's not true. I can help you lighten it. I'm really good at making your wallet lighter.
Says the man who went out with an armful of boxes last year at Hamvention. Hey,
yeah.
I'm actually going to get something this year at Hamvention. Let me just go ahead and make this announcement real quick. The United States Postal Service has lost my TDR 6100 DMR radio for Main Trading Company. It's been lost since March the 12th or 13th. It's ridiculous. They don't know where it's at. They can't tell Main Trading Company. They can't tell me where it's at. So our friends at Main Trading Company will be bringing me a replacement TDR DMR 6100 to Hamvention. So I will actually leave Hamvention this year with a radio in my hand. I'm excited about that.
Do you have a DMR repeater in your neighborhood?
Yeah, we're covered up. We're covered up.
Yeah, Cal and I have spoken on DMR a few times, both through repeaters and also through hotspots.
Yeah, some cool stuff.
I'm gonna have to get one of those things.
Well, that's the funny thing. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, because last year it's the first time I've gone to Dayton and not had an HT on me. And, George and I both had D-Star capabilities in an HT. Cale did not. Last year I bought my venerable $100 TYT MD380 DMR radio, which has been fantastic. The best, I think I said before, it's the best value, most fun I've ever had in ham radio. Cale had a couple of DMR HTs, but George has no DMR capability.
That's weird.
I don't. It is really weird, especially since I have a lot of buddies who are in the two-way radio business, and they're all DMR guys. So I just haven't gotten around to it. Quite frankly, when I would use the DMR radio, let's say in the car, I've already got multiple FM repeaters, D-Star and Fusion repeaters, and that's just the stuff that our club has. So I've got plenty of things to talk on. I don't really need another channel to talk on, but I'd do it to talk to you guys. It's
really cool. I mean, the tech is... I mean, I made a contact on one of the TAC channels on the DMR Handy Talkie from the inside of Carla's Suburban on Main Street in Spartanburg, South Carolina, to a gentleman in Jerusalem. And that was just like, for me, one of the coolest things that I've done in ham radio. I mean, that's just doesn't make sense. He was on an HT, I was on an HT, hours and hours and hours, hundreds and thousands of miles away. It was just crazy.
That's very cool.
Cool
but
tech.
I've had a similar experience on D-Star.
Exactly.
I mean, so there's a lot of different media that will get you there, but but I haven't had the chance to play at DMR, so we'll probably maybe I'll get one of those because they're pretty cheap. I mean, how much is the radio you're getting? Like $100?
Well, I'm getting the mobile radio, so it's like a 40-watt mobile rig, but the handies are still in the $100 range. Richard will hook you up. He's bringing 28 feet of ham radio love. I can almost say that as country as he does, but he's still got me. So that's going to lead me to my next section. We're going to take a break, and I want to come back and talk about, I know you guys have people you want to talk to and interview, but I want to talk about what you want to bring home with you this year. I know last year Jeremy did the 7100, George did the KX2. Get you thinking.
Wait, hold on. I did the 7300.
7300, George did the KX2. So it's a dyslexia thing. We'll be back in just a minute. You're listening to the Three Amigos here on Ham Radio 360, the special edition Hamvention show as we're driving you to Xenia. Stay tuned. One of the craziest things that I found at Hamvention last year was the prices. I mean, what you think something would cost, it was even less than that, especially from the new product dealers. I was just like freaked. I know Richard was just killing it with these handy talkies and mobile radios. He's planning to do the same thing. Matter of fact, I can tell you, he has a very special price range for the brand new Kenwood TH74. That's the handy talkie that does APRS, D-Star. It also has a TNC built in. Not to mention it's a tri-band radio with a color display. So if you're going to be there and you're wanting to buy one of the brand new Kenwood handies, you need to check out my buddy Richard, mtcradio.com. He's going to have the best deals in the whole flea market, probably on the property, and he's excited about it. I am too. Now, it's not just the THD74. He also has all the Kenwood range from the bottom end to the top end and everything in between. If you're looking for some Kenwood gear, he'll have it with him in his trailer in the flea market spaces. Go check him out, Main Trading Company. Let them know Kel sent you from the Ham Radio 360 podcast. As always, save big bucks, my buddy King Richard, down at MTC Radio in Kenwood, USA. So it is Hamvention weekend. Hamvention week, I mean, we're dropping this thing on Tuesday. We're going to be in town on Thursday. George actually flying in on Wednesday. Really excited about the event. It's the biggest amateur radio gathering on the face of this earth, the third rock from the sun, whatever we're going to call it. And we're going to be there, and we're hoping you're going to be there. And here's the thing real quick about Hamvention. As a ham, before I went, I never thought that it was a big deal. I mean, I just knew that some people would go, and people on the internet always went, and, oh, it's just a big ham fest. And I go to my local ham fest, no offense, guys, but it's not that much fun. There's not that much to do. There's not that much to see. But Hamvention is a beast to its own self. I mean, it is the granddaddy of all ham fest. I mean, it's it. There's no other like it. And where do you even begin, especially this year with it being at a new venue, which is going to be really cool because the old one stunk, literally, and was kind of scary. I wouldn't want to be there in the dark by myself, just being for real, but Hamvention is not your typical ham fest. So
you asked where to start.
Yeah, where do you start?
You have to be there, but I'm going to tell you this year, one of the most exciting things I've seen today, Jeff posted that the program for Hamvention was available for download at hamvention.org. And on page 19, they have a list of the food vendors. And where you start is this: 3 words: stuffed cabbage rolls. 2 more words: Polish sausage.
Oh, dear God.
The menu.
I'm sharing a room with that man.
Amazing. I'm going to need a Jazzy because I am super pumped about the food offerings at Dayton this year.
Last year, they were very slim. And, yeah, it is page 19. We'll link the PDF to that. It is pretty ridiculous. George, I don't think has seen it yet, but when Jeff put it up on Twitter earlier, I was just freaked because I could not get over the fact that there was so many offerings for food. And, I mean, who's going to need a Golden Corral when you can just eat it all at Hamvention? And it's not just the food, guys. I mean, literally, if there's anything that you've ever wanted to participate in, see, get your hands on, have a conversation about anything to do regarding amateur radio, it's talked about, shown, done, touched, felt. It's all there at Hamvention. And going back to literally, I didn't think it was a big deal. I'm like, it's just a bunch of old guys going up there and walking around kicking tires and looking at Hallicraft radios. Little did I know how awesome an event it really was. And really, I see myself going back every year from now on because it's just really that awesome. If you can, come. If you can't this year, begin to make plans to come next year. It's really that good. And you can trust me. I mean, I think you guys do. It's really that good.
Well, to reinforce that, number one, thank you again to our listeners last year for making it possible for Cale to come. But in the lead up to Dayton last year, Cale was a little, I don't know. It's another ham fest. And George and I are in the background being like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
You just don't get it. And you don't get it until you've been. And then it gets in your blood. And like Cale just said, I knew this was going to happen. You don't see your life again without Hamvention.
Yeah, it's really weird. I mean, really, it's really strange. And I think it's just the camaraderie. Literally, for me, it was just being in an environment surrounded by other geeky people. And I say that with all sincerity and love in my heart for you. That really made it real. And to be able to say, wow, there's a whole bunch of us out here. I'm not just the only crazy guy in town.
You found your tribe.
Yeah, I did. I plugged in, bro. I was kissing babies and shaking hands, and it was a trip. So really, that's what we're talking about is Hamvention. And just want to encourage you, if you're local, semi-local, it's worth the drive in. Come this year. It's going to be great. Yeah, it's a new venue. Yeah, there may be hiccups here or there. Man, we have hiccups in our freaking shows, so that's okay. It's just life, and there's a bunch of people in Xenia, Ohio, who are going to do everything in their power to make you have and to offer you a great experience. And I'm just stoked about the opportunity.
For me, going to Dayton the first time was really about the stuff. It was to see the vendors and see the gear and all that. And what I've found, having been there for about 6 years now, is the stuff is still kind of a reason to go, but it's really the people that it sort of makes it for me. So being able to see you guys, because we never get together in one place except for there. My good friend Bruce from New Hampshire is going to be coming out.
GQ.
We've got GQ W1GQ. Yep. So he's going to be there, and I haven't seen him for years, so that'll be great. And a couple other guys from Silicon Valley, 2 fellows both named John, will be out there. So just being able to spend time with your friends and have it be kind of like nonstop radio.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I mean, it's just all ham radio all the time.
And to that point, like I'm looking forward to getting to see a lot of members of my old club in Alexandria, the Alexandria Amateur Radio Club. I'm excited about seeing some folks I knew from Seattle. Just in general, I mean, this is an opportunity where other people who get it the way that we get it, I know I'm going to see them once a year. There are some other friends, like friends of the show, like Gerald, who I haven't seen in a few years. He actually, when I moved out here first year, him and another buddy came out to go to Hamvention with us, which was the first year that I did coverage for Ham Radio 360 of Dayton. I know he couldn't make it again this year, but I know that there's going to be a chance that I will run into him at Dayton again in the future.
Yeah. And folks like Don Gover, been supporting the show from literally day one. And let's see, Dave, I'm going to miss everybody's names here, but Dave and John and people that I know that I met last year for the first time. Freddie's going to be there, and just all kind of people that I just can't wait to get to see you guys. I mean, I'm physically excited to see you again and give you one of those big bro hugs. Not that I'm a big bro, but I can give like a small big bro hug. It's going to be a good time. And one of the other things about Hamvention is that's where the deals are made. Now, everybody's going to have sales online, right? That's where you can go if you can't make it. You can save some money online at the different sales. But you come in there with a big wallet, you're going to go home with a smaller wallet. And like last year I mentioned a few minutes ago, Jeremy picked up one of the 7300s, and George took his. Well, he already had his kicks too, almost, but he got it in his hand. He had pre-bought it, and it was really cool to see that happening as well, because local ham fest for me personally, again, tire kickers, Hallicraft radios, not a whole lot. We don't even have vendors show up at our ham fest anymore, but to go up there and it's just gobs of new radios stacked to the ceiling, it was almost intimidating, especially for the guy who bought a Coke and a pretzel in the building. But I'm excited about that this year. Now, I don't think I've got anything on my list, but I am coming home with the DMR radio from Main Trading Company. Guys, are y'all shopping this year at all, or is it just going to be all work all the time?
Ooh, that's a good question. I really don't have anything that I have to buy. I mean, I really have to say that I'm pretty set with stuff. I mean, if I were to well, there's a couple of vendors I'll look at. We talked a fair bit about that on the Workbench show. I think one of the things I'm really curious to see is the 7610 from ICOM. Mm-hmm. So that piques my interest. I probably won't be getting one, or at least not now, but I'd just love to see that, and I hope those are for sale and get them into people's hands. I really like bumping into some of the small vendors who you've never heard of before, and you really get a chance to sit there and chat with them and learn about what they're doing and why they're doing it. And we talked about you talked, Cale, about All-Star a couple episodes ago, and when I was at Dayton, I think the year before last, I was walking around on Sunday and I bumped into a guy who makes little All-Star interface boxes. I didn't even know those things existed. So, and they're very cool. I wound up buying one. I've never used it, but I got it. And, it's just fun to discover things that you didn't really know about before. And while you've discovered it, you get a chance to talk to the guy who built it, or someone who knows a lot more about it than you do. And I just find that fascinating. And sometimes you see some gear that you know about, but you never really thought you'd get it for yourself. Like, I wound up getting a Heil boom and a Heil microphone for my HF radio. In all the years I've been a ham, I've never had a boom mic. I only use a hand mic. But I saw the way they had a station set up at Hamvention with the boom and everything, and I thought, that's pretty cool. I maybe I'll try one of those, because I kind of ran out of other things to buy, I guess. But and I love it. It's great. And it took me, a long time to figure out that was a useful thing.
Yeah.
So you get quite inspired. Yeah.
What about you, Jeremy?
This year is going to intentionally be a little bit lighter year. I mean, one of the things that, like George said, in the beginning, it was all about the stuff. And, at this point, I've got a KX3, I've got a 7300 on HF gear. I'm good for where I'm at. I mean, if I had the ability to put up an antenna or a tower at home, it might be a different story. VHF and UHF gear, I am also totally set on. The one thing that was kind of a running gag for a long time was my infatuation with the Kenwood D74 or the THD74 Kenwood D-Start handheld. And I still think it's a great radio, but I've come to the point where I don't need to have it anymore. And the main reason being is there's two features that I'm holding out to see if they're going to get in the firmware. Number one is from a data mode. It appears that it only supports the new ICOM fast data mode, so it's not compatible with older radios that can only do the 1200 baud data. And I'm happy to be corrected about that if I am wrong, but I haven't seen a firmware update add that. And then there's just some challenges with how GPS data is sent around, and there's been a lot of conversations on the forums about, well, whose fault it is, and, well, you don't know what you're talking about, and you misunderstand how it's supposed to work. But the point is every ICOM D-Star radio does GPS stuff, and it works with other ICOM radios. And I think that is something they might be addressing in a future firmware from rumors I've heard, but you know what rumors are worth. Yeah. From a radio perspective, I kind of am interested in picking up a commercial DMR radio. One of the things is Gigaparts is going to be there for the first time in like forever, maybe the first time ever, and they are a Hytera dealer. And hopefully they're going to bring some Hytera radios with them because I'm interested in seeing those. I'm interested in talking to Jerry at Connect Systems again. Hopefully he'll have a working prototype of his new 760, which is the upgrade to the 750. Although actually I'm even kind of interested in his little like $100-ish little DMR radio, because it's gotten pretty good reviews. I know there's been some firmware updates to address some initial issues. But from a radio perspective, that's probably about all I'm looking for. Now, there's a lot of other odds and ends. Picking up my annual supply of power poles, RF connectors and adapters, things like that, like we talked about on the workbench. I'm also very interested in AirSpy.us, who is a U.S. distributor for AirSpy software-defined receiver products. They make some really awesome and affordable high-quality SDR receivers. They're going to be there, and the AirSpy group started selling, and this is really geeky. With SDRs and other test equipment in general, it's often good to have a 10 megahertz source, so you have a very accurate clock that can put out a pulse every, at a 10 megahertz rate. They've sold those, designed by a guy named Leo Bodnar, and he had released a new product that gives you a 10 megahertz source and a GPS-disciplined Stratum 1 time server in a box. And Cale, I know you don't have it's a really accurate clock.
Okay. I wear a G-Shock.
It gets its accuracy by syncing with GPS satellites. And I am a little bit of a time geek, and so something like that is really interesting to me. I'm interested in seeing this new kind of power module that does power monitoring and battery charging and solar. It has a solar charge controller in it and whatnot, made for portable operations that Buddy Pole has. Hopefully they'll be bringing them. And I'm also excited about seeing the test equipment vendors that are going to be inside the arena, not arenas, but the buildings, because I may be interested in picking up a new piece of test equipment. But I don't have a have-to list except for things like power poles and connectors.
I got you. Cool. This year I came home last year and was pretty much disappointed till about Christmas time, this past Christmas, that I did not buy a key or a set of paddles from the Bengali folks. I don't know why. That just really bothered me for almost a whole year. And I don't even know, see, I have really, I'd like to learn it, but it's not like I'm trying. But those are just so beautiful. Even the Simplex, the basic base model, was gorgeous. And I have really fought bothering myself about that for almost a year now.
Well, I broke down and bought a Bengali key 2 years ago. That was my big purchase. And I wasn't planning to get one, but I had met the fellow in the Bengali booth, the fellow that I interviewed last year for the show. And the story about the keys and the history and everything was just so compelling. And the workmanship is so beautiful. I thought, well, okay, this will be the key. So I popped for one, but boy, they're really, really nice. If you're thinking about getting one, I can highly recommend them.
Yeah, they're really special. So that was kind of my thing. I'm like, maybe this year I'll buy me a Bengali key, and then I really want to get a smart scanner. I've got a lot of scanners, but all of my scanners are like my age. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to potentially invest in a nice Whistler or a Home Patrol from Unit and something like that. I don't really see that big of a purchase being made there by me personally, but that would be cool. That was kind of what I was kind of shooting for, setting my goals at for this year going up. But I don't think it'll happen. But that was one of the things. And then I go back to, like Jeremy mentioned, the AirSpy. They had a great deal last year. I missed out on that big time like an idiot. I may try to recover from that with a purchase from maybe an AirSpy. I'm not sure yet. But that would kind of fit some of the scanner stuff I've got holes with. But anyway, I'm excited about going whether I bring anything home other than my new DMR 6100 radio from Maine Trading Company that the Postal Service lost for me. Thanks so much, Uncle Sam. Appreciate that. But, I don't really have any I got to haves. This year, having not had to fly, I'll be driving, so I'll have a little more flexibility with what I can bring home, maybe because she'll be here when I get home. But, like Jeremy was saying, power poles, connectors, I think I'm okay on RF connectors, but I did buy a crimping tool last year at Shelby, and I may try to buy some crimp-type connectors to begin using that thing for what it was really designed for.
Heck, you can make one of those DC power strip project boards.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually, crimper is a great example because, I have the jaws, but I don't have I have the actual crimpers, but I don't have a lot of jaws. And that may be something that I add to my list as well.
Yeah. So as you're driving up this weekend, coming into Hamvention, of course, we're going to be there. We're really excited to see you. We'll be in the big tent, the party tent, Building 6, as they're going to call it. And, we'll be there. Jeremy and George will be out doing their thing as well. And we're going to have a big forum on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk about here in just a couple of minutes. But it is Hamvention. It's been going since 1952. And we're excited to have an opportunity again to go back and to share that experience with you. I'm bringing Chris Purdy, my buddy from years gone by. We've been friends for 25 years. And Chris recently dubbed the KN4BDQ, and he's going to be there. He's excited, which is really cool. It's cool when new people go and they're excited. They're not just going because they're your buddy. They're like really want to be there. So I'm excited. Also see our buddy John Jacobs that creates the Comms to Go packs, and they're going to have some super flex antennas. He sent me one to test. I've got it on my Osheen Handy Talkie, and you can turn it around a couple of times and tighten a knot. It doesn't break, and it works really well. So I'm excited to see those too. But we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back here in just a second as we wind down the special edition Hamvention 2017 Dayton, Xenia, Ohio show here on Ham Radio 360 podcast. Recently got another order of T-shirts in. Thank you guys for all the pre-orders and new orders as well. Shipping those things out what seems like on a near daily basis. Hey, don't forget we'll have the build projects as we've been mentioning here in the show as well at the Hamvention. I can't take along the embroidery company with me, but if you're still looking for one of our shirts or hats, you can find those online at hamradio360.com under the shopping tab. Looking to bring the stickers back here once we get back from Hamvention, as well as some other cool swag. So thank you for all of you who have supported the show that way. If you're interested in what I'm talking about, check out the shopping tab, hamradio360.com. Get your Ham Radio 360 official swag, including T-shirts, embroidered hats with your call sign and the show logo, and other stuff as well, all on hamradio360.com. All right, so George, real quick, remind me what the booth number is.
Booth number is 6501 and 6502.
Okay, and that's at the end of the tent. So when you come into the entrance of the tent, we're going to be the first cats you see there. We'll have the banners up displaying our logos as well as our great sponsors like Maine Trading Company, Autodesk Eagle, our friends from Elecraft and others, Pactena. Speaking of Pactena, George, you're going to be there in the booth, and we're going to have Pactena gear for sale in the Ham Radio 360 Workbench podcast booth. What are you bringing with you?
I'm going to be bringing the end-fed antennas, so the 9-to-1 antenna, the little Pactena Mini, plus some inline chokes and some of the half-wave wire antennas. So all the small backpackable antennas.
Cool. And those are extremely popular, and if you don't know what we're talking about, George is this brilliant guy on the left coast who makes this really cool stuff. And one of the cool things he's made is this ultra super small packable antenna. Our buddy KB1HQS Stewart took him out and did all kind of park activations with his Elecraft rig for the National Parks on the Air last year. He made some great review videos of it. He was in the QST mag with a review as well. And if you're looking for something to pack along with your Elecraft rig, maybe your 817, maybe your Hilltopper or whatever those things are called, you're looking for a QRP portable antenna, George is the man. And they're awesome. I mean, they'll fit in your hand. They're small on your cell phone. and they work like a champ. So those will be there, as well as maybe some Pac-10 Classic equipment as well.
A little bit. We didn't really bring a whole bunch of the big stuff because a lot of the time is going to be spent doing interviews and also talking about our podcast build projects. But we're bringing a couple of boxes full of the Pac-10 mini antennas. So hopefully those will go. And also we're excited to talk about our build projects.
Yeah, and you've got a slew of those, including one freebie.
Yeah. Well, and the original.
Well, you have to earn the freebie.
Yeah.
What are we going to make them do?
Chicken dance.
Well, they're going to have to talk to us.
Oh.
I mean, if we wanted to be mean, we would tell them that they have to come up to the booth and say turkey.
and all three of us would turn around like, what?
Yeah. You talking to me?
Yeah.
So when we did the first build project, that was the antenna analyzer. We've talked about this many times, but we made 100 boards, kind of freaking out that we may not sell them all. And here we are, 550 boards later, and we're bringing 150 more boards to the show. So we'll have those boards. The goal was to have a second build project ready by Dayton. So that kind of got the wheels turning. And by the time everything was said and done, we had 4 more build projects.
And we couldn't just hold them out, and be like, oh, we're going to talk about this next quarter. We're just going to dump them all at one time.
That's right.
I had a call where it's 3.5.
Okay.
The 3.5.
There's a dummy load and then a smarty load.
Yeah. Okay. I'll concede the point.
You'll allow it. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Keep me honest. So yeah, we have the power monitoring board. That's the combo DC power gate and low voltage disconnect and volt amp meter. That's probably the most complicated of the bunch, but that'll be fun. We're going to show those off and have some beta boards. We've got the QRP dummy load and the QRP dummy load smart version that has the Arduino, so you can measure the wattage and send it out the serial port or make the LEDs bounce up and down while you're talking. And then we made the DC power strip, which was Jeremy's idea. He said, I want a power pole outlet strip. And next thing you know, we made several hundred boards. So we're going to bring those. Those are giveaways, actually. We're going to be giving those away. So the other ones, we're just selling the boards, but the DC power strip, that'll be a freebie. So come by the booth and you'll get your board.
And the DC power strip really, it's kind of unofficially, at least in my mind, it's a hat tip to our buddy Gerald, KF5JNU, when he so just unashamedly stated to power pole the world. I mean, what?
For those who haven't seen it, go look at my YouTube channel, search for KF7IJZ, and watch my 2014 field day video where Gerald, and that was his first experience with power poles. I mean, he was kind of like a kid going to Dayton for the first time with power poles.
Yeah, he's still excited about power poles. Yeah.
Well, who isn't? In fact, I don't know if I told you, but when I went to the 3D printing festival up in Indiana, there were some people using power poles on their printers, and people were walking by and they're like, that's the most amazing thing ever. And I'm like, well, duh, bro.
It's power pole the world. And not the fakies either. So yeah, we'll have the build, all the build kits and parts. Well, I don't say parts. We're going to have the boards. I think that's a safer way to describe that. The antenna analyzer board will have the diodes with it.
Right. So we're going to have the boards for everything. The only parts we're going to bring is for the dummy load. We do have the passives for the load itself. So we have the resistors and the LED and the diode. So we'll have those parts. And on the power monitor low voltage disconnect board, that thing's got the control chip soldered to it because it's very tiny. So that's already mounted. And there's a couple of transistors that comes with it. So that stuff is provided.
That have to be replaced. That's why those are beta boards, because you have to swap one component on the board for a component you'll get with the board.
Yeah, if you want the whole lowdown of and my shameful experience, just listen to the podcast, the Workbench podcast last episode.
Yeah, they break it down. They break down all of those projects pretty well detailed.
Did you mention that you were going to actually have parts for the dummy load, or am I misremembering
I
that?
did say that. I will have the passives. So I've got the resistors. I bought 1,000 resistors, which is enough for 100 boards plus. So I've got all the resistors. I've got the rectifier diode, the LED, and a resistor. So that's the basic setup of parts and a BNC connector for the load. And that part of the dummy load is identical on both just the simple dummy load and the smart one with the Arduino, but we're only supplying the load part of that board. So we'll have those parts. So you can get the board by itself, or if you want a kit of parts for the load, then we'll have those too.
Nice. In addition to that, go ahead. You had a question.
Well, I was going to ask, Cale, are we bringing any Ham Radio 360 swag?
We do have a little bit, and I'm bringing T-shirts. The hats are hard to do because they're one-off custom. You know, when you order one, you get one with your call on it. I just shipped a bunch of those, by the way. And if you're going to Hamvention, you should have it, and you should have it on. Matter of fact, be repping the fam while you're there. But yeah, we'll have some T-shirts. I've got them large, extra large, 2X and 3XLs. I don't have a lot, but I've got a couple of dozen shirts, and we'll have those as well there in the booth. So I've had a lot of people request T-shirts, and we've sold some since we've got them up online in the store. So we want to put those in your hands or on your backs or whatever. You know, they'll be there. They look really nice. They're a gray T-shirt with the logo in its vertical arrangement versus its horizontal. So it's what I like to call the block logo. Don't use it a whole lot, but it looks really cool, especially like on our stickers. And I didn't do any stickers. I just didn't have time to get that together. But I do have the shirts, and excited to see people pick up those as well. And
I just had a really good idea, but not about our swag. Going back to the build project stuff, you know what we should do?
What's that?
We should encourage our listeners to see if they can fully assemble our build project with stuff they find at Hamvention.
To see if you can find all the parts to build the dummy load.
Find all the parts to build, well, any of them.
Like a build
if you're
challenge.
really industrious. Yeah. And if you manage to successfully build any of the build projects and get it soldered, if you come by the booth, we'll give you a crisp high five or a hearty pat on the back.
Well, we'll take your picture and stick it on the website.
We'll make
Actually,
you
that's
famous.
true.
Yeah, we'll make you famous.
Yeah, we'll make you famous.
Nerd famous. That was weird, man. That was weird. Okay, well, it's getting to be about that time, and I know that we're forgetting something. We're forgetting.
We are forgetting something.
Yeah,
we're forgetting on Saturday.
Yes,
at 2:45 in the afternoon, all three of us will be on stage for a forum in the big forum room.
Yeah.
Which I don't know that we have any more information. Actually, it might be in the program. George, why don't you talk about our forum, and I'll go look up if they have listed the room number.
Yeah, we're really excited to do this. So on Saturday at 2:45 in the afternoon, we're on for an hour, and we're going to talk about build projects and why it's never been a better time to be a ham radio operator, especially if you like to construct things and go out in the field and operate. So we'll share some of our thoughts on that and give you a bit of an update on some of the things we've been working on and share that technical stuff with you and talk a little bit about the podcast and what we do. And it'll be a great time just to meet folks.
And we will be in room 2.
Okay.
And yes, go ahead, Kel.
I was just going to say we're going to have a little Q&A session there as well. If you guys want to write down the questions on the back of your hand with a permanent Sharpie marker, present those to the forum as well. Won't be a whole lot for Kel to say. This is kind of like the over the Kel's head stuff. But it's going to be a great time, and you should be there because we need the room full.
Actually, we need the room full. Room 2, 2:45 on Saturday. And Kel, don't sell yourself short because, yeah, we've talked about a lot of in-depth topics on a lot of more technical-oriented things. But when George and I were working the outline for this, I kept pointing out, if you have ever built a Go box or you have ever built like something for field day just to experiment with, or you put together an antenna, you're making stuff for ham radio too.
Yeah. It just may not be Arduino controlled. I feel better about myself.
That's right.
Now.
It may be Kel controlled.
Oh, there's a lot of Kale control.
Hashtag Kale Duino.
I like Grin and Swagger better than that. I couldn't spell Kale Duino. My dyslexia would be, the D would be in front of the C somewhere, before he said, I don't know.
Kale Duino.
No, I know we're running out of time, but really, I personally want to say thank you again for bringing us here to almost 3 years of doing Ham Radio 360, helping us launch a second show. If you are not able to make it to Dayton, we are going to miss you, but worry not. George and I will be your man on the street, as Kale said the first year a lot. We will be going to a lot of different booths, looking for new products, having conversations with people about stuff. I may actually try to shoot some video as well. I can't guarantee it's going to work out, but because I have an experimental setup. But every single night of Hamvention, starting on Friday night, we will be getting together and publishing a show in the evening that you'll be able to come back and download to hear of what you about what the folks that we were able to talk to at Hamvention that day.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. We did that last year. It was quite taxing, but in the end, it paid off because we were able to bring you Hamvention in a condensed version. And wow, it was stupid popular. Somehow people were telling their friends about it, and everybody was listening. It was just phenomenal. Thank you for sticking around this year, and telling your friends about it, and giving us this opportunity to go and to experience this again on your behalf if you can't make it. And one of the best compliments before we cut this thing off, I remember last year, and I think it was Dr. Milliman who sent us an email and said, I'm a sight disabled ham. I'm blind. But Jeremy, your interviews, or maybe it was year before last, it was one of the two. Anyway, the compliment was, you made me feel like I was at Hamvention. And I thought that was the greatest compliment that any of us could ever get, by being able to not only help our sighted friends, right, to be able to describe what you were seeing and how you were participating in what was happening around you, but to take that information and share it in that fashion. It's the power of the podcast. I know that sounds so cliche, but this is a very powerful medium, and I'm very grateful that we're going to be able to do it again, and can't wait to get to see you guys and see all of you listening who are driving up, and make sure you come by the booth and holler or something, and maybe we'll holler back. So it's going to be a great time. George, I can't wait to get to see you, buddy. Jeremy, I'm totally stoked to see my friend, and we're going to party again and get these shows out in the evening and crash and get up and do it the next day. So a lot of our friends are going to be there who are content creators. I know we're going to see Eric. We're going to see Jason. I'm sure we'll see our friends Gordo and Bob and whoever else is there, come by and see us. If you're listening to this program, where we've told you 40 times where we're going to be. We want to make an opportunity to get to see you and shake your hands.
Is Kilo 5 Alpha Charlie going to be there?
I don't think so. I think he's working really hard on his podcaster small batch audio gig, and that actually comes out the week after Hamvention, which may prevent me from doing any shopping with the prospects of that releasing in the Kickstarter. So I'm really excited about that. I haven't talked a whole lot. I tweeted some about it, but Adam is doing something big for podcasting. And I've seen a couple of items that are similar to what he's doing. I even considered purchasing one down at the Podfest that I went to back in whenever that was, a few months back in Florida. But I'm glad I didn't, because this is even that much better. At least I am anticipating it to be. And the guy's, he created the medium we're using, so surely he knows how to turn it up to number 11 for us. So I'm excited to see what happens with that as well. We'll maybe do a show about that later. Adam and I have been talking for a year now about having him come on the show. Maybe this is the time, so we'll see. In the morning. Y'all just left me hanging with in the morning. So, okay.
In the morning?
In the morning. It is in the morning right now, which means Kel's got to get to bed. But, George, go ahead.
Yeah, who else is going to be there from Podcast Land is our good friend Eric Guth, 4Z1UG.
Yep. Excited to see him.
So he's going to be out there.
And he's having a breakfast as well on Sunday morning, I think. And I may try to get up early and go do that before we come home. So I'm not making any promises. I haven't told Eric that. If he's listening, he's just heard it. But I may try to figure out how to sneak my time in and get over there and see him. Great guy. Great interview. Great interview with Eric. Doing a great job on his
excellent
show.
guest.
So, yeah, Jason's celebrating 2 years of his videos on Ham Radio 2.0. Congratulations, bro. And I know he's going to be there as well. And our friends from Bridgecom are going to be there. Of course, Elecraft, our lovely sponsors, main trading company, the big fan from Texas is going to be there in the big trailer. So it's going to be a great time, folks. We're going to be back bringing you the highlights and maybe even some lowlights from the new experience at Xenia, Ohio. So, again, fellas, thank you. I'm stoked to see you in less than a week.
Yep, see you guys in a few days.
Thank you, brother. You have a safe trip, and we'll see you soon.
All righty. So that's going to call it a wrap here on the Ham Radio 360 Special Edition Hamvention Show with Kel, George, and Jeremy. Yeah, you could probably tell it was getting really late in the evening as that show progressed. We were on West Coast time, which is a lot different than what I normally experience here on the farm. So thank you for sticking with us. We hope you've been entertained and educated as well. Hope that you, if you're driving, just be safe. Be as safe as you can. Remember the shuttle parking lots. I'm just trying to help you out. Really, I'm not going to make any money off selling shuttle parking tickets. I don't know if there's a charge, but anyway, consider using that. I think it will help to greatly reduce your frustration to get you on the grounds to have a good time. I'm really excited to see you. Please don't forget, and I don't know how you would, we're going to be in the big white tent, booth number 6501. When you come in from the end of the tent, we're going to be right there on the corner. We're stoked to see you. I mean, really, we get excited about hanging out with each other. We get more excited about hanging out with you guys and seeing how the show's affecting you and your enjoyment of the hobby. Bring your ideas for shows. Hey, you might even have a show that you want to be on, like, with the content. So as George and I were talking about, we're always open for stuff like that, finding our best content with you, our listener. And don't think that nobody wants to hear what you have to say. Listen, you're listening to a guy sitting in a barn in South Carolina, and we're having a good time. So you've got something to say, I'm sure. You want to share it on the show, we'd love to catch up with you. Thank you again so much for participating, for helping along the show, for keeping us going and encouraging us. We cannot wait to get to see you again in just a few days. All right, you guys be careful. If you can't make the show, don't fret. We'll do our best to get you a daily update around midnight or later and have it for you the next day. Again, God bless every one of you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on Ham Radio 360, the podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Ham Radio 360 podcast, brought to you by Main Trading Company, Paris, Texas, and by Elecraft.com, hands-on ham radio. To learn more about the show, visit our website, hamradio360.com. 73s, y'all.